I'd like to go back to the issue still on the tuna, on the assortment topic.
Yes.
Thinking about how brands are dealing with product assortment. And we saw that Coke is completely changing their offering, right? They're getting rid of some brands,
Voila.
so they get rid of Owala.
Yeah.
And looks like that they will try to bring more focus, more Minute Maid, on Topo Chico. When I saw that, I immediately thought about you, because my perspective is the supply chain management perspective. We talk a lot about product diversity, product variety.
Mm-hmm.
And typically the discussion is the following. When we think about product variety, there is a camp that says that that's good for consumers and for firms, because if you have in a category a variety of products, you have the substitutability effect. So if one item is stocked out, the consumer can replace for a similar item. So you guarantee high levels of customer service, high levels of availability on the shelf. You lower your overall stockout rate in that specific category. So that's one argument for product variety. But the counter argument for that is, if you're managing several different items, different brands, then it becomes much more difficult to manage that. You're managing different suppliers, managing different items that actually they are different. So for example, we're talking about grocery, but let's talk about fashion. Think about this shirt here, this shirt. So in fashion, we are going to have this in different sizes and different colors.
Right.
I'm wearing possibly a medium size. I don't know if this is large or medium.
It's a large.
It's a large one. Okay, so it's a blue large one, right? But it can be offered in yellow, it can be offered in red, in pink. Sure. And in fashion, the problem is that fashionable items, they depend a lot on what's fashionable right now. It may be that yellow and pink are very fashionable.
Right.
And we typically use information from, for fashion, it's very difficult for you to use historical data because things change. So sure. We try to use, for example, social media data, Twitter data, what's trending on Twitter, Facebook, yeah. Instagram, right? To see what's going to fly. So in general, as product assortment is a hot topic, it's a key issue. And I was looking at Coke, and what are your thoughts? So why is Coke doing that? Where are they going? Is it, what kinds of challenging are they facing, or what are they foreseeing that we're not to make these decisions?
So I heard it's a great subject, because I think a lot of brands are going through this today, right? Because it is a time of change. I think consumer tastes are changing quickly, and maybe some unexpectedly. But you know, I saw Coke's CEO speak on this week on CNBC, and he said, you know, we have 8 brands in flavored juices or whatever. I forget what the official name of the category is. 8 brands, right? He's like, that's too many. And he called them zombie brands. He called his own brand zombie brands. You know, so if I'm a brand manager for one of those brands, I'm probably not feeling too good about my job right now. You know, something that I need to do. And he says, I don't know what we're doing with all these things. He said, this is ridiculous. And it's an inefficient way to manage our business. And we...
John, was there a point in your career when you were in favor of this? Because the one question would be, why did we get to this situation?
Right. You know, that's a good question.
You saw this category expansion.
It's right? A great question, because I used to be a brand manager, right? Mm-hmm. So I was a brand manager, and we thought about this problem a lot. And I think in addition to the challenges that you mentioned, you have a hard time marketing efficiently to support that many brand differences, right? Think about Coke. We all know what Coke is. We all know what its mainline brands is. I think Coke really struggled as people were moving away from soda. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it tried to do some innovation, but usually it bought other brands. So it bought these stable of brands. I think you see the same thing going on today in the seltzer category. So everybody loves seltzer today, right? Like bubbly, and what's the one with the cursive, right?
Sparkling, yeah.
Yeah, sparkling, and even alcoholic, adult beverage seltzers. Or Bud Light has a seltzer named Bud Light Seltzer, which I think is weird from a brand standpoint, but whatever. But White Claw owns that category, right? White Claw is the Kleenex of that category. So yeah, I think as a brand manager, it becomes very challenging when you suddenly have your core products dislocated by a challenger like that, and you either have to meet them with competitive products, because when consumer tastes begin to change, you will not market them back, right? And this is I think something that we've talked about with e-commerce and home delivery. As so many consumers have ordered groceries now in delivery for the first time, many of them will stay there and they will not come back to the store, at
Yes.
least not in the volumes that they did. So how do you adapt to that? How do you change? But as a brand, yeah, it becomes very hard. And I think, at some point, it's very counterintuitive as a brand manager to think I'm going to kill this part of my brand because consumer tastes are changing here, and invest that over here in either this new brand or buy a new brand or something. And it used to be easier because in a store environment, if I'm Coca-Cola or Pepsi, I control so much of the shelf space. So my market power could keep other products away.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we buy so many pretty products, I mean, think about how many brands. I don't know if Adwala was one, but think about how many brands got started in that category in the side counters at Starbucks. Yes. as an introductory way. Red Bull got started by the street teams that would go to Vegas, and they would load the bars up in Vegas with Red Bull, so that when tourists came to Vegas, they had Red Bull and vodka, and they had whatever, and they went back and they started ordering these things. So you created this pull demand. So that there's all these kind of new experiential models that are not just based on the store that Coke can control. So you think about what Pepsi did with Gatorade. The previous owners, Quaker, and I forget who else owned Gatorade, but who owned Gatorade, made it a nice brand. Pepsi made it a household leviathan because it stacked massive displays in Walmarts across America and sold it very promotionally, right? I don't know that you could do that anymore. Not in that same way. So now we're learning to manage smaller brands and wider varieties of taste, and I don't really know how that ends up.
Well, but if we think about this evolution, that the expansion was because of the changing in consumer preferences. So we're moving away from soda, so we want natural juices. So one thing is, okay, so I need to enter this market. The other one was just the opportunity that you mentioned. Okay, there are these innovations, and somehow they're threats for existing brands. So I need to acquire these before they become a threat to my own brand.
Correct.
So an opportunity, and also entering those markets that you see they're growing, right? So we are in very uncertain times.
Yes.
And these decisions, of course, they're being driven by these huge changes that we observed here in the US over the past 4 months.
Right.
So they're driven by, okay, so we had the discussion on tuna, right? What's essential, what's not. So, or what's utilitarian and what's hedonic. So there are these changes. People are focusing their purchases on specific items, and the companies are going, okay, so I saw it and I need to focus on these very specific items. But based on what you're saying, that opens up opportunities for the small firms to see, okay, now there is a vacuum that was created because of this, and I can enter, and perhaps the cycle just restarts.
You know, the other play in that also becomes direct, I believe, because I can reach you as a new brand now in some really interesting ways, and in a way to become quite a large brand that then that credibility will gain me shelf space at a Target or at a larger at a larger player. There's a water that you may be familiar with called Hint. I like Hint. Um, I only used to see it in the airport in Northwest Arkansas, right? When
Uh-huh.
I'd be flying out.
That's
And
why I
then,
know it. Yes.
yeah, that's how I know it. So that was their strategy. Let's get to the airport market, get to travelers, get them to provide pull demand, and then Target jumped on it in a big way, and had huge displays of in a very Target way in their cute little basket display things that they have. But it was very Target brand, you know. And so thinking about different distribution models that weren't 20 years ago putting big pallet displays in Walmart,
Mm-hmm.
which is how brands grew for most of my career for sure.